Hi, I'm Jeff Borzello, and this is my bracket. Starting up in the South region, I got Auburn beating Alabama State. I'm going to have Creighton beating Louisville. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner is just a problem for most teams on the inside. I think they're going to advance. I'm going to go with a 12-over-5 upset, UC San Diego. They have the nation's longest winning streak entering the NCAA tournament. They've won 15 straight games. I'm going with them to beat Michigan. And I'm going to have Texas A&M beating a Yale team who has pulled off a first-round upset in each of their last two NCAA tournament appearances. Moving on to the bottom half of the bracket, a lot of people surprised by North Carolina making the tournament, but now that they're in, I think they have what it takes to beat Ole Miss. I just think it's going to be a close game, and North Carolina is going to have more talent than Ole Miss, especially late in the game. R.J. Davis, Ian Jackson, guys who can make shots. I think they're going to have enough to beat Ole Miss. Iowa State, I think they're going to be in trouble later in the tournament. Keyshawn Gilbert, their star point guard, is out for the rest of the tournament with an injury, but I think they're going to beat Lipscomb pretty comfortably. This has maybe the best point guard matchup. Marquette versus New Mexico. Cam Jones for Marquette, Donovan Dent for New Mexico. Two of the best point guards in the country. Terrific matchup. I think Marquette has enough to beat them. And then Michigan State, one of the hottest teams in the country before losing in the Big Ten tournament. They have a pretty comfortable road to the Elite Eight, I think, and it's going to start with a win over Bryant. Moving on to the West, Florida playing as well as anybody in the country. They're going to cruise past Norfolk State. The two-time reigning champions, UConn, in the 8-9 game. This is not a matchup they wanted. This is not a seeding they wanted to play the one seed in the second round. But Oklahoma, Jeremiah Fears, he's going to have kind of a field day with UConn's perimeter defense. He's going to get whatever he wants. I think UConn has enough to get there, but Jeremiah Fears could go for 25 or 30 points and keep this game close. Memphis, Tyrese Hunter got hurt in the AAC semifinals. Without him, I don't know if they have enough ball handling to win this game. Colorado State has won 10 straight games, won the Mountain West Conference tournament, and Nick Clifford, their senior, is playing like a legitimate first-round pick. I think they go with the 12-over-5 upset here. Maryland, not deep. They play basically five guys for 40 minutes. They're going to have enough to beat Grand Canyon if they can stay out of foul trouble. Grand Canyon gets to the foul line as well as any team in the country. Maryland, like I said, they pretty much play just five guys. They have to stay out of foul trouble to beat Grand Canyon. The bottom half of this region, Drake is going to be a popular upset pick. Just ran through the Missouri Valley. They went 30-3, led by Ben McCollum, the head coach, his point guard Bennett Sturts, who he brought with him from Division II Northwest Missouri State. But I don't think Missouri is a great matchup for them. Missouri really struggles to guard, but Drake, their offense is not overly explosive. They will run down the clock to 5 to 7 seconds on the clock and then try to get fouled, get an offensive rebound, or have Bennett Sturts kind of throw up a shot, and usually it goes in, but I don't think they have the firepower to beat Missouri. Texas Tech, I think they're a legitimate Final Four contender. They'll get past UNCW. This is a fascinating matchup. Bill Self, John Calipari, two of the greatest coaches of their generation. Kansas was the preseason #1 team in the country. They have not lived up to those expectations. Arkansas, they're banged up. They're supposed to get Boogie Flan back soon. I'm going with Kansas. I don't trust them, but I think they have enough to beat Arkansas. And St. John's has rolled through the Big East, 4 losses all season. They're going to cruise past Omaha. Now, on the opposite side of the bracket, we're going to go with Duke to win that one over American University. They will not need Cooper Flagg for that one. Mississippi State, Baylor, two teams that have kind of disappointed for most of the season. Baylor was a top 10 team in the preseason. Mississippi State's not guarding like a Chris Jans team, but Baylor is going to get through that one. Then I have Oregon and Arizona, two former Pac-12 rivals. I have them both advancing to the second round. In the bottom half of this bracket, BYU-VCU to me is a fascinating game. BYU, one of the best offensive teams in the country under first-year coach Kevin Young. VCU really guards. They just don't have the firepower to beat BYU. Wisconsin playing in altitude against, Montana in the first round, BYU in the second round. Could be a tough one in Denver. But Wisconsin, not the Wisconsin of 10 or 15 years ago. This is an explosive offensive team. They're going to beat Montana. St. Mary's, Alabama to advance. Two teams that play completely different styles, and they're going to have an intriguing second-round matchup. In the Midwest region, Houston, the 1 seed, they're going to cruise. Gonzaga, maybe one of the most underseeded teams we've seen in a couple years from a predictive metric standpoint. They're top 10, top 11 in every predictive metric, got in the 8-9 game. That is a problem for Gonzaga. It's also a problem for Houston, who they'll play in the second round. McNeese and High Point will be popular upset picks, I think, as 12 and 13 seeds. I just don't think they're good matchups. I think Clemson, they're experienced, they're battle-tested, they're physical. I think they will not be intimidated by McNeese's just talent level, high major transfers. I think Clemson will be fine. And then High Point, the way they defend, I think they're going to allow Purdue's Braden Smith to control the game. And I just think letting the best point guard in the country control the game for 40 minutes is not a recipe for beating a 4 seed. The bottom half of this region, Illinois, maybe the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the country. In the past month, they've lost by 40, they've lost by 20, they've also won by 20. So we don't know which version of Illinois is going to show up. I think against Xavier, the good one's going to show up. They're going to make enough shots to advance. Kentucky, they're banged up. They have some injury issues. Jackson Robinson's out for the tournament. Lamont Butler, we don't really know the status of his health, even though he's going to play. They have enough to beat Troy, but we'll get to them in a little bit against Illinois. UCLA, Utah State's an interesting one. Utah State has struggled lately, but they play this kind of interesting, weird zone defense that could be tough for UCLA on a short prep, but I think UCLA has enough to advance, and they're going to play Tennessee in the second round. Bring back to the second round in the South. I think Auburn against Creighton. I think Auburn's going to win, although Ryan Kalkbrenner is one of the few defenders in the country who can guard Janai Broome one-on-one down low. I have UC San Diego, the 12th seed, advancing. It's not a great matchup for them. They're not a big team. Texas A&M is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. I just think the way UC San Diego can make shots, share the ball, they defend, they can create turnovers. I just think it's a game where, you know, the team that can make the most shots wins. And if they can keep A&M off the offensive glass for, you know, the majority of the second half, I think they'll be able to advance. Carolina, I think their run will end against Iowa State in the second round. And then I think Michigan State, even though Marquette, I think, is senior-laden team, Cam Jones at the point guard spot, I think Michigan State is too good and too deep to lose that game. The West Region second round, again, Florida, it's a tough team to play in the second round, the two-time reigning champs. That's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think that's going to be a one- or two-possession game late. Maryland, again, they only use 5 guys, so playing twice in 3 days could be tough, but they're going to get past Colorado State. And then Texas Tech and St. John's will both advance, and I think those are 2 legitimate Final Four teams coming out of that region. All right, in the second round over here, Duke Baylor. In the preseason, this would have looked like a potential Final Four preview. Baylor has disappointed a little bit. Duke, whether Cooper Flagg's healthy or not, I think they're going to be fine in that one. Arizona, Oregon has been a weird team. They have a bunch of quality wins. Most of them are from early in the season, and I think Arizona, I think they're built differently than most Tommy Lloyd coach teams, but they have enough to get past Oregon. And then BYU Wisconsin is going to be a high-scoring game. Wisconsin hit a little bump in the road toward the end of the regular season. They have righted the ship a little bit, but I think BYU is playing as well as anybody offensively, and I think they have enough to outscore Wisconsin. Alabama-St. Mary's could be one of the kind of contrasting style matchups of the second round. St. Mary's ranks last in the country in pace of play, or bottom 5 in the country in pace of play. Alabama's near the top. I think Alabama has too much firepower for St. Mary's in that one. Houston-Gonzaga, again, that's going to be a tough matchup for Houston. Juwan Roberts is supposed to be healthy. He missed most of the Big 12 tournament with, I believe, an ankle injury, but he's supposed to be back, and they're going to need him to beat Gonzaga in the second round. Clemson-Purdue. Purdue has really struggled to guard on the inside, and Clemson has the bigs to score around the rim. Chase Hunter on the perimeter. I think Purdue's run will end there. Again, Illinois, unpredictable team, but Kentucky, without a fully healthy backcourt, with the way they've kind of been inconsistent defensively, Illinois is going to get open shots, and I think they'll make enough to get past Kentucky. And then Tennessee, Chaz Lanier, Zakai Zeeler in the backcourt, I think they're going to take down UCLA. Moving up to the top left of the region in the South, UC San Diego's run is going to end against Auburn, the top seed team in the region. If Keshawn Gilbert was healthy, I would have had Iowa State in the Elite Eight. I think they would have been a legitimate Final Four team, but I just don't think they have what it takes to beat Michigan State. Tom Izzo, this might be his best coaching job. Deep team, experienced team, elite defensively, and they won the Big Ten regular season title, and I think they're going to get to the Elite Eight. And then in the bottom, Florida, Maryland, I just think Florida has just too much depth, too much size, too much at both ends of the floor for Maryland to win that one. And then Texas Tech, St. John's might be the best game of the tournament, or at least the best game of the Sweet 16. St. John's has lost 4 games all year by 7 points total. Elite defensively, relentless. 2 guys in Kadari Richmond and R.J. Lewis who can take over a game with the ball in their hands, and I think they're going to beat J.T. Toppin and Texas Tech. Duke, Arizona, again, this is a Caleb Love kind of revenge game, or another Caleb Love versus Duke game. Remember, he was the guy that ended Mike Krzyzewski's career when he was playing at North Carolina in the Final Four a couple of years ago. He's going to have another chance to go against Duke. I just think Duke, with Cooper Flagg, they're going to make too many shots. They're too good defensively. They're just too big, I think, for Arizona. Arizona's got elite guards, but Duke has the size and the length to make things difficult for them. The bottom half of this region, I'm going with an upset. I'm going with 6 seed BYU. Again, both teams elite defensively. Alabama, especially if Grant Nelson is hurt or banged up, he got hurt in the SEC tournament. Even with him, they are not very good defensively, and they've struggled over the past month at that end of the floor. BYU, they've been a top 5 team overall in adjusted efficiency margin over the last month, and I think that they're going to continue that. They can make 14, 15, 16 threes in a game. Alabama will take a lot of threes, but they are not as efficient offensively as BYU has been over the last month. In the bottom half of the bracket, Houston, if they get past Gonzaga in that second round, which I think they will, I think they're going to get past Clemson. With a healthy Juwan Roberts, he'll have a little bit more time to get fully healthy. And might be the best team Kelvin Sampson has had at Houston. I think they're going to get to the Elite Eight to play Tennessee. Tennessee, Illinois, it's a rematch from earlier in the season. Tennessee won that one. Again, Illinois, don't know which one's going to show up, but I think Tennessee is too good defensively. They're going to contest shots on the perimeter, and if Illinois is not making their shots, they're still going to take threes. They're just not going to make them, and Tennessee's going to advance. In the Elite Eight, it's chalky. I'm sorry, 1 versus 2 and 1 versus 2. Auburn, I think hopefully they've righted the ship. They lost 3 of 4 going into the tournament, but for the first 90% of the regular season, they were the best team in the country, the best offense in the country. Hopefully the extra couple of days off will help them right the ship moving forward. Florida St. John's, if St. John's was in any other region, I think I would have taken them to get to the Final Four. I just think Florida's playing the best basketball of anyone in the country, anyone in college basketball, and I just think that they have too much defensively, too much size. If St. John's gets into a game where a referee calls it tight and Florida gets to the free throw line, that's just going to be really tough for St. John's, who plays such a physical brand of defense to survive. And then Florida, they have a guy, like I said R.J. Lewis and Kadari Richmond can take over a game with the ball. Florida might have a guy who can match them, and Walter Clayton might be the smoothest, toughest guard in the country late in games. On the other side, I think BYU's run ends against Duke. I mentioned all the good offenses on the bottom half of that region. Duke is as good as them offensively. They're just also elite defensively, and I think they shut the water off against BYU and get to the Final Four. And then a 4th 1 seed in the Final Four. I know I hate it as much as you do, but I think Houston, again, this is Kelvin Sampson's best team. They're really good defensively as always. They're a really good offensive rebounding team as always, but they're also an elite shooting team. They shoot 39% from 3, 4th in the country. They're going to get to the Final Four to face Duke. And then once we're in the Final Four, Florida, Auburn, we've seen them before. Florida playing incredible basketball. They are just dominating teams lately. My one concern about them, Todd Golden's never won a tournament game in his career. It's hard to go from 0 tournament wins in a career to 6 tournament wins in 3 weeks, but I think Florida has the pieces to do it. I think they're just playing incredibly well at both ends of the floor. I think they have all the pieces to win a national championship, and I think they're going to face Duke in the title game. Duke, with a healthy Cooper Flag, they do start 3 freshmen, which is a concern against an experienced team like Houston, but I just think that Duke has the pieces to spread out that Houston defense, make shots from the perimeter, and beat them in advance of the title game. And then on the final Monday of the season in San Antonio, going with Florida to cut down the nets. They're just playing at a really, really high level lately. I think they're good enough inside with Alex Condon, who can go inside, outside. They could play fast. They could play slow. They have experience with Elijah Martin and Walter Clayton at the guard spots. And the way they're shooting the ball, the way they're rebounding, they avoid fouls. I just think they are really, really built to win a national championship.